Hey guys, and happy Wednesday. We're continuing in our Red Thread series tonight as the water games will happen this evening. We still like to have something online. So in the Red Thread series last week, we talked about Achan and the problem with confession or hiding our sin and what that looked like. I challenged you guys on that last week. Now we're really wrapping up the book of Joshua. Everyone's kind of received their allotments for land. The end of the book really deals with that. Each tribe kind of got their own space and they were set to just settle into this promised land. And as we're reading along, in the end of chapter 21, there's this awesome couple verses that I wanted to share with you. It says in Joshua chapter 21, verses 44 and 45, "The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their ancestors. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord gave all their enemies into their hands. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled." Israel finally was there. After all this wandering and all this warring, they had gotten to their land and they were able to occupy it and enjoy rest on every side. Every promise that God had given them was fulfilled. And so that now they just got to be there. They just got to exist in this wonderful place that the Lord had set aside for them. It's so encouraging to me as a Christian because this is a story of something that happened a long time ago. But remember, it's also a story of something that's happening to us right now. We've talked about from the very beginning how the Israelites moved from slavery in Egypt all the way through the wilderness and through the wandering into the promised land and wholeness and a nation, right? And the promises that were there for them. And so we've talked about how that is a type for our own lives, that we move from the slavery of sin through this wilderness period of life, of sanctification, where we're being made more like God. And then we get to the promised land, to heaven, that we will occupy a country as well. And so when we see this happen for the Israelites 2,500 years ago, we realize that it's going to happen for us as well. And that is so incredibly exciting. That one day, by death or by rapture, we will be with God and we will occupy his homeland with him and we will experience rest on every side. I think one of the great things about being a believer is the opportunity to imagine heaven. I don't know that we spend enough time doing this, but it's something that I do often. It's a practice of mine. It's kind of like excuse me, in those old school cartoons, when they'd have like a donkey pulling a cart, you'd see the owner of the donkey have a fishing line with a carrot dangling in front of the donkey to urge the donkey forward, right? That had a carrot in front of him. For me, heaven is like that carrot. It's that thing that I'm pushing towards and straining towards. Not that I can do anything to hurry myself along, but just knowing that that reward is going to happen at the end of my life, it helps me with my performance and my obedience and my relationships here, because I know where I'm going. And so when things are rough here, when things are hard, the way they've been in this pandemic, I spend a lot of time thinking about what heaven's going to look like, what it's going to be like to experience rest on every side as these Israelites did. So I want you to imagine that with me for just a moment. Imagine beauty beyond our imagination, right? Beauty beyond our wildest dreams. Now, I'm a nature person. I love to be outdoors and watching sunsets and flowers and all of that type of thing. And it's beautiful. But I know that it's flawed. I know that it's not the way it was originally designed to be, that sin has scarred our earth deeply. And we see evidence of that everywhere in disease and death and decay and mold and dust and allergies and all of those things. But heaven's going to be free from those infirmities, free from those hardships, those difficulties that we experience here. And so it's going to be beautiful. But not only is it going to be beautiful, it's going to be wonderful in the fact that we are going to have right relationships with every person, and even more importantly, with God. There's not going to be any competition. There's not going to be jealousies. There's not going to be pride or frustrations with others. We're going to be able to know and fully know. And so people are going to make sense to us, and we're going to be able to get along with one another and truly appreciate the people we were created to be. And that is really exciting. Picturing heaven will help us push through the hard stuff here. That's why we're meant to do that. Just as the Israelites moved through the wilderness and they pushed through the wars with the occupants of the land, because they kept the promised land in mind, that's what heaven can do for us too. If we can see it as that carrot, if we can think about, all right, this is tough, but one day I'm going to be in heaven with God and with his people, and I'm going to have rest on every side. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be wonderful. That's the thing that can keep us pushing through these hard times. The Israelites dreamt of the promised land and they got there, and we see it here in scripture. It's right here in black and white. They got there and they enjoyed it. We dream of heaven, and one day it too will be our reality. Let me close with one more scripture for you today. It's Hebrews 11:16. It says, they were looking for a better place, a heavenly homeland. That is why God is not ashamed to be called their God, because he has prepared a city for them. Here's the last thought. God created the world, heavens and the earth, everything that you and I have ever laid eyes on. He did that in 6 days. When Jesus left this earth, he said, hey guys, I'm going to prepare a place for you. And he's been gone for 2,000 years. So I'm thinking, if God could create this in 6 days, then what is he dreaming up in heaven for 2,000 years? It's going to be really awesome. And it is totally worth your time to start thinking about that today, and let that excitement and that anticipation and that joy push you forward in this life as we look forward to the next one. All right. Well, you guys have an awesome week. Love you all.